welcome on in. Thank you for being here. It is Midweek Connection, and I don't know about you, but I feel connected. What another wonderful week it's been of meditation. It's a beautiful time of year. Welcome to the Christmas season. If you have not already joined in with the Christmas season, hopefully you will this week. What a great time of year to celebrate. We celebrate joy and happiness and peace and being the light. Not just looking for light in the world, but being the light. I even have my friend here, old Saint Nick, hanging out with us this evening. So thankful for your presence here. If you would just go ahead and pass around some love to those who are around you. Share that love with the folks who are jumping on here. We'll give people another opportunity, just a few more minutes to gather into this space this evening. And just want to say thank you to everyone who continues to support this ministry and everything that One Love is about. This weekend, I'll go ahead and get the announcements out of the way. This weekend, this Saturday, we're having our in-person gathering that is going to be at the One Love House, which is 1116 30th Street in Birmingham. And that's the road that runs right next to the clubhouse. The clubhouse is on Highland Avenue, and if you're coming in from downtown Birmingham area, you would take a left onto 30th Street. And then we're going to be meeting there in the One Love House. We'll make sure that there are people out and ready to help get you there. It's our potluck Christmas gathering, and so I have a feeling with all of the food I've been seeing that's going around within our group that it's going to be definitely going to be the kind of food you don't want to miss. Your pot will feel lucky. And then, of course, Sunday, our regular time for our live stream, that will be at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And what we're going to do is we are going to record our gathering on Saturday so that you can participate in that on Sunday for those who are not able to make it. Tomorrow morning, of course, we will have our regular time for meditation. And hopefully you're enjoying that and participating in it and passing it around, sharing it with everyone. We are moving really fast toward our birthday party that's coming up. That's right, One Love is turning a year old. Actually turning a year old on January the 1st, but the birthday party is going to be January the 2nd, and that will also be in Birmingham, but it will be at the clubhouse on Highland at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Whew, all these time zones. 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And everyone who can, make plans to be there. I'd sure love to see you in person, if at all possible. We are continuing in our study of the Tao Te Ching, a journey into life itself. What a beautiful, beautiful study. I've said before that the Tao is 81 verses and can be read in an afternoon, but it can definitely be studied for a lifetime. Those of you who have studied it know that's the truth. And the Tao has a tendency to study you. Like for me, it gets me. Like I'll just be going through my day, something will transpire and the Tao will come to mind. As you allow it and you absorb the energy that it is, what will happen is you'll notice that you'll recall it in situations. And this verse that we're looking at this evening is actually one of those that has come back to me more than one time as I've been going through this beautiful thing called life, sometimes chaotic thing called life. Looking at verse 61 of the Tao, we're going to look at a couple different translations as usual, but we'll open with Stephen Mitchell's translation. This is Stephen Mitchell's translation. It's available on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold. All right. Tao 61 says, when a country obtains great power, it becomes like the sea. All streams run downward into it. The more powerful it grows, the greater the need for humility. Humility means trusting the Tao, thus never needing to be defensive. A great nation is like a great man. When he makes a mistake, he realizes it. Having realized it, he admits it. Having admitted it, he corrects it. He considers those who point out his faults as his most benevolent teachers. Keep that line in your head. We'll come back to that. He thinks of his enemies as the shadow that he himself casts. Again, keep those few lines. Keep them in mind. If a nation is centered in the Tao, if it nourishes its own people and doesn't meddle in the affairs of others, it will be a light to all nations in the world. Can I get a witness? Somebody. One of my biggest issues, I think, that I probably have had with our particular government, with the United States, is how much we've gotten involved in what other countries do. We have a tendency to police other countries or to try to make other countries be like us. The reality is that it's another country because it's not this one. And we should really stop meddling in the affairs of others. But let's bring this, because really the Tao was written and compiled during the time of Confucianism, just a little before and then leading into Confucianism. And Confucianism was the philosophy of China, following the warring states. And it was essentially Confucius trying to help people deal with everyday life and deal with each other. It wasn't about religion. It wasn't about God. It wasn't Buddhism. There are some people who think it's Buddhism. Buddhism actually comes along about 170 years after Tao. It's a contemporary of Tao, and it didn't happen in China. It happened in India, so it's a different part of the world too. Lao Tzu deals with how to govern nations, but here's where I think we can apply it for our own selves personally. We can apply it for our own selves personally as looking at our own self as a nation within our own self. A nation of cells, a nation of emotions, a nation of thoughts, a nation of feelings. And how we govern and manage our own self determines how much of a light we become to others. I think this is perfect because our series right now is about being the light of the world and about going out and lighting your world. And notice that finishing line. And it doesn't meddle in the affairs of others. It will be a light to all nations of the world. When we learn to practice non-interference, when we learn to let people just be, the old saying, live and let live, is a bit of an adaptation of Tao. That's how much Taoism has really influenced, the Tao Te Ching at least, has really influenced the whole world. Little caveat here, the Tao Te Ching, as of 3 years ago, was the best-selling and most popularly, widely studied writings, second only to the Bible. So the Tao is closing in on, quite possibly will surpass even the selling and the studying of the Bible in the next few years. I think if you use them together, they're powerful, very powerful. They're very inspirational, full of wisdom. Okay. Before we go any further, I am drinking tea this evening, and I remembered that this was my yogi tea. Let's see what the tea says before we go any further. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Very nice. Speak to make yourself happy. Don't speak to impress others. That's very Taoist. Don't speak to impress others. Okay. Got sidetracked. That was the squirrel I watched run up under the tree there. Just a sip here. And by the way, this is sweet tangerine. So good. With raw local honey. Okay. If I was going to title this evening, I would title it Leading Through Radical Humility. And all of you know, when I talk about leading, I mean leading here first. When we talk about governance and government and any kind of guidance, love, compassion, understanding, kindness, it all is here. It's an inside job first, right? You're always going to hear that from me. Anything external will actually kind of automatically take care of itself when we work on the inside. Let me read this other translation. A great country is like the lower outlet of a river. It is the world's meeting ground and the world's female. The female always surpasses the male with stillness. In her stillness, she is yielded. Therefore, if a great country yields to a small country, it will conquer the small country. If a small country yields to the great country, it will conquer or be conquered by the great country. So, some who yield become conquerors, and some who yield get conquered. A great country needs more people to serve it, and a small country needs more people to serve. So if both shall get what they need, the great country ought to yield to the small. That is quite different, really. It has similarities, but it's quite different from Stephen Mitchell's translation. And I kind of want to stick with Stephen Mitchell's translation this evening, just for the purpose of really getting into this whole radical humility thing. Reassessing how we see strength, reassessing how we see our operations in the world, learning to be humble like the ocean, learning to have a radical sense of non-interference. Much of the conflict that we deal with in our life is the result of us interfering in what other people are doing instead of bringing the work here. Jesus the Master said, "The kingdom of God is within you, and if it is here, then the work to be done is also in here." Let me read the second stanza from Stephen Mitchell's translation. "A great nation is like a great man. When he makes a mistake, he realizes it." Step 2, having realized it, he admits it. Step 3, having admitted it, he corrects it. 3 steps: realize, admit, correction, or correct. The word correct there, you could use the word repent, because that's really what repent means. Metanoia, to change the direction or to change the mind. So realize it, admit it, correct it. This requires humility. When you are making amends with someone else, don't do it out of guilt or shame, because it never will be corrected, but do it out of a sense of humility, love, compassion, and a desire to understand. If you live your life with a desire to understand others and a desire to find a loving solution, you will find less and less problems, because love is always the answer. Working through gratitude, humility, and a deep desire to understand. In all you're getting, get understanding. Gain knowledge if you want to. Gain wisdom for the knowledge. But in all of your getting, get understanding. That's the magic. That's the sweet spot. And it takes humility to get there. If you live your life habitually humble, because you're living habitually in love with everyone and every living being you come in contact with, when you live your life that way, you find that there's less reason to argue. You find no need to argue. I love it. Actually, this is perfect for this right here. We read this a moment ago. Speak to make yourself happy. Don't speak to impress others. What happens is that as love makes its impression on you, and it essentially brands your being, you find less of a need to argue with people. You find less of a need to be right. And as a result, you end up finding yourself living life accurately or correctly, because you no longer need to be right. See, the thing is if you have this incessant need to be right, you're admitting that you're not right. Because if you were, you wouldn't need to be right. If someone buys this book from me and I have it, I don't need it anymore. Does that make sense to anyone? So a deep sense of humility, losing the need to be right, losing the need to interfere, losing the need to argue. This is magic to relationships. How many ever ran into somebody who knows it all? I mean, they just absolutely know it all. It doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done, who you did it with. They've been there more times, they've done it better than you, and they knew the person better than you. All of that. They know everything. Children are much that way. In fact, raising teenagers is like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall. It's because they feel like they know everything. I did too when I was a teenager. Arguing with your teenager doesn't do any good. There's even an old saying, an old Zen proverb saying, actually I don't know if it's Zen or if it comes out of Suripada, but one of the factions of Buddhism that says, lead the fool quickly toward their folly. And when you go on to read the homily just a little more, and you go ahead and read the story, essentially it says if they are going to persist in their foolish behavior, walk with them quickly to it so that they can learn their lesson. And it's almost saying don't interfere with them getting into the accident or running into the wall that they're headed toward. This is for someone who is dealing with substance abuse within your family, or you're dealing with a consistent pattern and a loved one that has that pattern. Leave them alone and let them run into the wall they need to run into. Is life going to kick them in the gut? Possibly, but some people it seems don't learn until it does. Practice non-interference. There's a couple of things you do there. One, you become a light, as it says here. You become a light to all nations in the world. You become a light to every human being you come in contact with when you stop meddling in their affairs. You're practicing non-interference. Here's what it does. Not only does it stop irritating them, you find that you're no longer stressed about whatever it is they're doing. You get this whole mentality of, I know that the only work I have to do in this life that I can really do successfully is the work that I do here on me internally. Oh my God, we could go around this for ages, but I'm going to continue reading the second stanza. So realize when there's an issue or a mistake or a misstep, realize it, admit it, correct it. If you want to, just do it in non-judgment. I mean, all of us have made mistakes before. Everybody who is gathered in this room right now, and anybody who's watching this in the future, we've all made mistakes. Admit it. Well, realize it first. Realize it. Admit it, and then correct it. Now, going on further into the stanza. He, in other words, the great man, because in order to live in greatness, in order to become a sage, in order to be a man or a woman of Tao, we need to reach these behaviors. He considers those who point out his faults as his most benevolent teachers. Let me say it the way it's coming to me right now. When people point out your faults, if you take it personal, it's because you've yet to see them for what they really are. They somehow are your teacher. They're not just a pretentious asshole. Did I say that? Yes. They're not just a pretentious asshole. Okay? They're your teacher. And the moment you receive them as your teacher, the moment you move closer to passing their class. He thinks of his enemy as the shadow that he himself casts. The one that you have thought of as an enemy is really just showing you part of you. And if you dislike it and you think it needs to be adjusted, remember, you do it through humility, compassion, acceptance. You don't do it through judgment or guilt or shame. Because if you do that, I was saying just the other day to somebody, I said, you know what? When you get mad about being mad, and then you get sad because you got mad about being mad, and then you get mad about being sad, and you just, before you know it, you've built a sandwich you can't even take a bite out of. Instead of getting angry at the people that you perceive to be your enemies, receive them as the ones who are holding up the mirror so that you can see the booger on your face. You'll even get to the place where you thank them. I did this just the other day. There was someone who meddled in some of my business a couple of months ago, and I finally realized, you know what? I need to send this person a thank you note. And so I did. But I had to wait until it was not a thank you note from sarcasm. It was a thank you note from compassion and a deep desire to say thank you. Because what they did actually advanced my journey. They didn't hamper my progress. They actually helped to remove an obstacle from my life that was standing in the way of my progress. Can I get a witness? Somebody. Okay, I wrote a couple of things down. I've been doing that lately. Have you noticed? All right. So from this verse, here's a couple of practical things to do. Number one, reassess your personal view of what constitutes strength. When you're thinking about conquering and you're thinking about how to govern your own life, don't think about governing others, but governing your own life, reassess your personal view of what really constitutes strength. In our society, it's often measured by physical strength or fortitude, one's ability to conquer another. But practice the strength of remaining quiet and serene by flying under the radar and simply not needing to be seen as great or strong. Remember, if you need to be seen as great or strong, you're admitting that you're really not. Fly under the radar. When it comes to conversations when you could so interject, and you could just reveal your massive wisdom, refrain. Show your strength in your ability to just listen, to hold your peace, remain serene, remain quiet, and practice non-interference. This is good stuff during the holidays, y'all. I'm telling you, it will change your holiday season. Number 2, emulate those in history who have revealed the greatest example of power through humility and nonviolent leadership. I listed a few that stand out to me. Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, called the first Buddha. Jesus, of course. St. Francis of Assisi. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Gandhi, etc. The list goes on and on and on. But these are ones who influence me, and I want to emulate their kind of behavior. I've said before, I want the heart of Christ and the mind of the Buddha, and I think I want the countenance of St. Francis, and then I want the strength and power of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I want the patience and the ability to stand under pressure of Gandhi. Think about these individuals I just pointed out. Some people will say, yeah, but that was Jesus, or yeah, but that was Buddha, or yeah, that was St. Francis, or yeah, do you know how many people are in the world, John, and how many people stand out like that? Very few. Why is that? Why is that? Because we're not willing to follow these folks. We worship them. We set them up on pedestals and we say there's no way I could ever be like that, and so I'm going to sit here and think of how nice it would be to be like them. No, just go and emulate the same behavior. The reason that everyone is drawn to them, and these individuals I just named are revered and admired worldwide to this day. Gandhi and Dr. King are contemporaries, of course, of the Buddha and of St. Francis and Jesus. They're contemporaries of them. But they're revered even after they're gone. Even after the physical influence has departed from this plane, the energy that they bring and that they brought is still influencing others, and others continue to admire them centuries later. Centuries later. Remain low. Be like the ocean. Allow whatever's supposed to flow to you to come by just non-interference. Conquer by not seeking to oppress anyone else. This may have been what Paul meant by we are more than conquerors through Christ. We heard it preached, because we militarized Christianity, man. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Onward, Christian soldiers, military marching, putting the American flag next to the Christian flag in our churches, and becoming religious zealot patriots. And we're going to go conquer the world. And we're at war with the devil, and we're fighting the devil. And any person who has devils in them, we're going to fight them too. I've let go of that and choosing to be like the ocean, humble and low, and just allowing whatever is supposed to flow to me to come by simply just being at ease. You know, it takes power to conquer someone else. But it takes true, deep strength to conquer one's own self. And when I say conquer, I don't mean destroy. I don't mean destroy. I mean manage, govern our own selves in humility and in compassion. And once again, I'll read it. Let me open this back up. I closed it too soon. I love this right here. If a nation, now again, considering yourself a nation. This is the nation of John. If the nation of John is centered in the Tao, it nourishes its own people or its own self. And it doesn't meddle in the affairs of others. It will be a light to all other nations of the world. So what can we do with this Tao? The Tao, this Tao verse, between now and next Wednesday. Practice seeing yourself as a nation within your own self and choose to govern Tao-centered. For people who are Christians, Muslims, Jews who are watching this, participating in this, you can use the word Tao synonymous with the word God if you want to. The divine, Jehovah, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, Allah. The nation who is God-centered, the nation who is Allah-centered, the nation who is Jehovah-centered, the nation that is centered within Brahman, following the power of Krishna. Ra, whatever the name is. The one who is centered in that nourishes its own cells. It doesn't meddle in the affairs of others. And that it becomes a light to all nations. So go light your world just a little bit more by chilling out, not trying to control other people, not trying to be in charge, just doing what you do, loving. All right, we have come to the end of this particular gathering together. I want to say thank you for being here for our midweek connection. I want to say that I love you and I appreciate you deeply. You are wonderful, and I know that you are awesomely and wonderfully made. I want to say thank you to those who continue to give and continue to share your gifts with us. The way to do that is on the screen right now. Thank you for giving. Thank you for considering a Christmas gift, a little extra end-of-the-year gift to move us into the new year. Thank you for considering that. You can send that to the P.O. Box 564, Gray, Georgia. Or you can give through PayPal, Venmo. Thank you so much for sharing with us. This is your spiritual investment. You know, one of the things that I noticed about my own personal life is that when I started making my own spiritual investments, I noticed that I was getting a return on my spiritual walk. So this is your spiritual investment. It's really no different than investing in shoes or clothes or groceries or anything else. This is your spiritual food. And so just make that investment into it as you can. I love you so very much. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 6:30, we're going to gather for our meditation. And then Saturday, we'll be gathering in person at the One Love House, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. And then we will be live streaming that service at 11 o'clock on Sunday. It's going to be a busy week, and it's a busy time of year. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Kwanzaa coming up. We're just finishing up, getting ready to finish up Hanukkah. Yummy, yummy, yummy. It's a wonderful time of year. I love you so much. Peace and grace to you. Now go and make it a great evening, because you can. Peace. How was your day, man? How was your day? Yeah?